forests are quiet, but not always empty. Across the United States, people report something moving through the trees, watching from the shadows, and disappearing before it's fully seen. These are the forest-dwelling cryptids people claim are still out there. If you enjoy strange lore and quiet horror, like the video, subscribe for more, and comment which cryptid we should cover next. Washington State has more Bigfoot sightings than anywhere else in the United States. This is either extremely compelling or Bigfoot simply prefers rain and coffee. Both are equally possible. Washington's dense forests, constant fog, and miles of wilderness make it the perfect place for something large to exist without being seen. This is comforting, because nothing says relaxing nature hike like knowing something 8 feet tall might be quietly judging you from behind a tree. One of the most famous Washington sightings happened in 1969 near Ape Canyon on Mount St. Helens, which is already not a comforting place name. A group of miners reported hearing rocks being thrown at their cabin overnight. These were large rocks, not pebbles, and not small woodland creatures expressing mild frustration. These were large rocks. The miners claimed they heard heavy footsteps, loud banging, and something circling their cabin in the dark. This would already be concerning, but what makes it worse is that multiple people experienced it. This means either Bigfoot was there, or someone was extremely committed to messing with miners in the middle of nowhere. Both options require an uncomfortable level of dedication. The next morning, they found large footprints around the cabin. Naturally, because Bigfoot apparently never learned about leaving evidence. For a creature that is supposed to be elusive, he is remarkably careless. Washington sightings still happen today. Hunters report hearing heavy footsteps. Hikers describe something pacing them from the tree line, and campers report hearing wood knocks deep in the forest. According to Bigfoot enthusiasts, this is how Bigfoot communicates. A massive, mysterious forest creature that communicates by knocking on trees is apparently subtle. California also has a long history of sightings. In fact, the name Bigfoot itself comes from Northern California, specifically Bluff Creek in 1958. Workers building a logging road started finding enormous footprints in the mud consistently, night after night. These were large, human-like footprints with long strides, which is already unsettling. Nothing makes you reconsider your life choices quite like finding footprints larger than your entire personality. The story spread quickly, and soon the media picked it up. Bigfoot officially entered pop culture. Years later, one of the workers claimed it was all a prank. This sounds believable until you realize the prank involved making giant wooden feet, sneaking around remote logging camps at night, and maintaining the act long enough to create a national legend. At that point, Bigfoot becomes the more reasonable explanation. Then there is the famous 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, also filmed in Northern California. The footage shows a large, hairy figure walking across a clearing. It turns, looks at the camera, and then continues walking into the forest calmly. It does not run or panic. It simply appears mildly annoyed, like someone who just realized they forgot their phone at home. The footage has been debated for decades. Some say it is proof, while others claim it is a man in a suit. This is impressive either way, because if it is a suit, someone created a remarkably convincing Bigfoot costume in 1967. This was before modern materials, before CGI, and before YouTube tutorials. This was simply raw determination. California sightings continue today, especially in Northern California forests. Campers report hearing heavy breathing, branches snapping, and something moving just outside the light of a campfire. Forests at night are quiet until they are not. When something large moves through the woods, you notice, even if you do not see it. Especially if you do not see it. What is interesting is that sightings in Washington and California share similar details. Witnesses describe something tall, hairy, bipedal, and quiet. It is usually seen at a distance, and only for a moment, just long enough to make someone question what they saw. This is either evidence of a real creature, or Bigfoot simply understands dramatic timing. If Bigfoot does exist, Washington and California would be the perfect place. There are miles of dense forests, mountains, and remote areas where something large could disappear without being found. This is exactly why so many people believe, because in forests that large, it is entirely possible something is still out there, watching quietly and silently judging your hiking gear. The hide behind comes from old North American lumberjack folklore, which already makes it unsettling. Lumberjacks worked alone in dense forests, far from towns, long before modern lighting, radios, or anything remotely comforting existed. When they started telling stories about something following them through the woods, people listened. These were not men known for being dramatic. They cut trees for a living, and if something scared them, it was probably worth paying attention to. The hide behind was described as a creature that stalked people in the forest quietly, always staying just out of sight. It would hide behind trees constantly, and no matter how quickly someone turned around, it was always behind something. Most threats, at least, let you see them, but the hide behind apparently prefers mystery and psychological discomfort. The earliest stories come from lumber camps in the late 1800s. Workers reported hearing footsteps behind them, branches snapping, and something moving through the trees. When they turned around, they saw nothing. Forests are not silent, but they also are not supposed to feel intentional, and that is what made the encounters unsettling. Some accounts claim the hide behind targeted people walking alone, which makes the situation feel selective and mildly personal. According to the stories, the creature would wait until someone separated from the group, then follow quietly and carefully, always staying just out of view. Lumberjacks also blamed the hide behind for disappearances. Someone would wander into the woods and never return. There were no tracks, no signs of struggle, and no explanation. The conclusion became that the hide behind took them, because that felt less unsettling than having no explanation at all. The creature itself was described as tall and thin, with long limbs and a hunched posture. Witnesses claimed it moved quickly between trees and remained completely silent. This raises another concern, because large things are usually loud. Branches break, leaves crunch, and movement is noticeable. The hide behind reportedly did none of that, which suggests either extreme stealth or something that did not move quite normally. Neither option is comforting. One unusual part of the folklore claimed that alcohol repelled the hide behind, specifically strong liquor. This sounds convenient, especially since lumber camps were already drinking heavily. Naturally, the conclusion became that they were not drinking too much, they were protecting themselves. This may have been clever justification, or possibly the earliest example of alcohol being used as cryptid defense. Some stories claimed the hide behind would follow someone for miles, always staying just out of sight and just beyond the edge of vision. Eventually, a person would stop turning around, and that is when things became worse. At that point, there was no way to know if it was still there, or if it had moved closer. Unlike Bigfoot sightings, there are no clear descriptions of the hide behind's face. No one ever claimed to see it directly. Witnesses only described movement, shapes, and shadows. Something tall shifting between trees, never fully visible. This is arguably worse because your mind fills in the details, and your mind is usually not helpful in situations like that. Some modern sightings echo the old folklore. Hikers report feeling watched, hearing footsteps matching their pace, and noticing movement when they stop walking. When they listen, there is silence. When they start walking again, the movement returns. This creates the uncomfortable feeling that something is following intentionally, and forests are not supposed to feel intentional. What is interesting is how consistent the idea remains. Something tall, silent, and always just out of view, following and watching from the trees. This fits surprisingly well with modern forest cryptid sightings. Or it may simply be that being alone in the woods naturally makes people uncomfortable, and forests are very good at hiding things. Either way, the Hidebehind remains one of the more unsettling cryptids. Unlike others, it does not need to be seen. It only needs to be nearby, just behind a tree, just outside your vision, waiting for you to walk a little deeper into the forest, and hoping you do not turn around fast enough. The beast of Bray Road is reportedly seen near Elkhorn, Wisconsin, along a quiet rural road surrounded by farmland, woods, and the kind of darkness where your headlights start to feel insufficient. This is already not ideal, because if something large is standing in the road, you are going to see it. And apparently people did. Witnesses described the beast as large, standing 6 to 7 feet tall, covered in dark hair, with broad shoulders, long arms, and glowing or reflective eyes. Most notably, it was often seen walking upright. This is always the part that makes things worse, because animals walking on 4 legs are normal, but animals walking on 2 legs start to feel personal. Sightings began gaining attention in the late 1980s and early 1990s, when multiple people reported seeing something along Bray Road, usually late at night. Cryptids, like most problems, apparently prefer the dark. Drivers reported seeing a large creature crouched near the roadside, and some claimed it looked like it was feeding on roadkill. This is unsettling because roadkill is already unpleasant, and adding a 6-foot wolf creature into the situation does not improve it. One of the most well-known sightings came from a woman driving home late at night. She spotted something near the roadside and initially thought it was a large dog. As she got closer, she realized it was too big, much too big. The creature then stood up on 2 legs, which is when things escalated. At that point, it was no longer just a large animal, it was something standing and watching. She described the creature as muscular, with pointed ears, a wolf-like face, and arms that seemed too long. This raises questions, mostly why it has arms. Animals usually do not need arms, and that is more of a human feature, which makes the entire situation significantly worse. Other witnesses described similar encounters. Some reported the creature running across the road quickly, sometimes too quickly to clearly identify. Others saw it standing in fields, watching passing cars. This is uncomfortable because when you are driving alone at night, you generally do not want to feel observed, especially by something tall enough to look directly into your vehicle. Some witnesses also reported reflective eyes glowing in headlights. This is technically normal for animals, except most animals do not stare at you while standing upright. That becomes more of a reconsider your life choices situation. In another reported sighting, a man claimed he saw the beast digging near the roadside. When the headlights hit it, the creature slowly looked up, then walked away on 2 legs. It did not run or panic. It simply left casually, which suggests confidence. Confidence is not something you want from a 7-foot wolf creature. Descriptions of the beast are surprisingly consistent. Witnesses describe something tall, hairy, with a wolf-like face, broad shoulders, and the ability to walk upright. Some reports also claim it occasionally runs on 4 legs. This is also concerning because switching between 2 and 4 legs suggests versatility, and versatility is rarely comforting in a cryptid. Some people compare the beast of Bray Road to dogman sightings, while others connect it to werewolf folklore. Witnesses often describe the creature as more animal than human, with a long snout, sharp features, heavy build, and thick fur. It is not quite wolf and not quite human, but somewhere in the uncomfortable middle. Sightings often occur in quiet rural areas, including fields, tree lines, and back roads where visibility is limited. These are places where if you see something unusual, you are probably the only person there to see it. This is helpful because nothing is easier to explain than telling someone you saw a giant, upright wolf on your way home. Very reasonable, very believable. Reports slowed over time, but sightings never completely stopped. Every few years, someone claims to see something: a shape in a field, a figure crossing the road, or something standing at the edge of the woods. The sightings are always brief, just long enough to make someone question what they saw. Some witnesses describe the creature standing quietly, perfectly still, near Bray Road late at night. As cars pass, it simply watches, like it is deciding whether to cross the road or just keep watching. Forests cover millions of miles, places where something could exist and never be fully seen, whether it's Bigfoot, the beast of Bray Road, or something quietly hiding just behind the trees. The stories keep coming. If you enjoyed this one, like the video, subscribe for more cryptids and strange lore, and let me know in the comments what we should explore next. Because sometimes the forest isn't as empty as it seems.